Hello and welcome to the March 1st, 2026 episode of Nick's News. I am your host, Nick, brought to you by Some Budget Studios. That's right, we're paying for this. We're live every Sunday, and I thank you all so much for tuning in or catching the replay on the Nick's News YouTube channel. This is a program dedicated to bringing good news to counter all the bad news that we are bombarded with on a daily basis, with the hope of bringing a little bit of joy back to the world. Several of our articles are pulled from sites like Industry Tap, Live Science, Positive.News, and GoodGoodGood.co, but we appreciate everything sent in by you, the Nick's Newsies. And I will completely flub the beginning, and hopefully we will just have a smooth sailing episode from here on out, right? That's what happens. I screw up in the beginning, and everything else goes swimmingly, right? Right? We can hope. Hey, Christian. All right. Let's get into our news brew. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Speedway Grand Prix came down to a photo finish. Speedway Grand Prix MMXXV Dutch Apple Pie Edition has taken the checkered flag. This 12% ABV Imperial Stout from Alesmith Brewing Company cruised across the finish line with apples, cinnamon, coffee, and natural flavors. And I am happy to be wrapping up the Grand Prix with this brew. I absolutely love apple pie. So seeing that this is a Dutch apple pie edition of this release warms my heart. And I am really, really looking forward to this. Of course, it is an Imperial Stout, so we will be using the Imperial Stout Harpoon Snifter. My limited edition Harpoon Snifter. We don't need the Balisong bottle opener because it's a can, but we'll blow the gain on the audio and get into the theatrics of a 5-minute pour. Oh my gosh. The first whiff of the nose of this beer, and I almost had a Ratatouille moment. Oh my. Pours about the same as all the others have, kind of a little bit of a thinner stout. But that's okay. Come on. As producer Donna just said, making up for last week's disappointing blackberry pie. I hope so. I definitely hope so. Just trying to get every drop in here. Be the closest without going over. It really is a 5-minute pour. Plus, it's the risk that if I overpour, I'm spilling onto my keyboard, so, I don't want to damage the tech. It's a nice keyboard. I can just smell it, and it smells like heaven. Gosh, it's not done yet. There we go. All right, now we're getting to the end. There we go. Every last drop. We are definitely ending the Grand Prix series on a high note. Holy crap. Curling for beer, closest without going over. All right, shout-outs. Pirate Cat's Treasure firmly believes everyone deserves the opportunity to be beautiful, fun, funky, sparkly, geeky, strong, or whatever makes them feel awesome within a budget that won't hurt. They love helping you express who you truly are. Check them out for handmade jewelry, dice boxes, and home decor. Links are in the description of this video. And this bracelet that I wear came from Pirate Cat's Treasure. I absolutely love it. It's like a centipede-style bracelet, and it's my favorite 3 colors, which is purple, black, and silver, arranged perfectly for me. absolutely love this thing. But if you want to get your own or get some other merchandise from them, that again, beautiful, fun, funky, sparkly, geeky, strong, however you want to feel, Pirate Cat's Treasure probably has something for you. I guarantee it. Next shout out is going to go to Joe DiSilvestro of Tesla Tree Service for a rescue of a lovely orange tabby on February the 26th. The sweet baby had been stuck in a tree for 4 days, but is now warm and safe and on the way to finding a forever home. So to Pirate Cat's Treasure and to Joe DiSilvestro of Tesla Tree Service for rescuing a cat, cheers to both. Wow. That is warm apple pie. That is warm, chocolatey apple pie. Holy crap, the cinnamon is real strong too. But the apple is, oh man. Oh. Fantastic. I spent the weekend just drinking beer and hanging out with really good friends over in Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti, Michigan. And let me tell you, it was exactly what I needed, was just to see some folks that I don't get a chance to see all too often. And I hit like 8 breweries, I think, while I was on my, throughout the entire weekend. So just had a ton of really good beer. But let me tell you, this is a really good beer. My whole body, though, was just like, oh, you're having another beer, huh? Mmm. News quote. Many people will walk in and out of your life, but only true friends will leave footprints in your heart. That quote comes from Eleanor Roosevelt, who lived from 1884 to 1962 and was an American political figure, a diplomat, and an activist. And I really love that quote. I actually need to update that with Mrs. Roosevelt's full name. Screwed that up, didn't I? Because I know it's not just Eleanor Roosevelt. It is Anna Eleanor Roosevelt, so I am going to have to make that adjustment in post. But I really love that quote, and it really sticks with me, given the weekend I just had, and given the friendships that I have with amazing people, and those kind of wonderful memories that are left by those people, especially literally in your heart. You hold everything in your head, but you feel everything with your heart. So many people will walk in and out of your life, but only true friends will leave footprints in your heart. Thank you very much, Eleanor Roosevelt. Cheers. Bug update. The 5-spotted hawk moths are still flying around in the tank behind me. They're still going, and now they're laying eggs. And some of those eggs have begun to hatch. Check our Tuesday Instagram for some photos and more info about my ecological disaster. It is an enormous entomological mistake that I have made, and I regret every moment of it, but I will continue to do my best as a bug steward. Ripley is scuttling about happily, didn't miss me at all. Little John gave me a real threatening stance when I came in. He was actually outside the hide, and the moment that I came into the room, I saw him be like, hey. And I'm like, okay, champ, hello. Good to see you too. The Cuddle Puddle was hissing away earlier, just singing to one another. They're A-okay in my absence. And Sue is very nice and fat back there at the very last tank. I gave him a dubia roach before I took off, and he has just been kind of chilling in his hide, and he looks nice and fat and happy. So all is well in the bug room, and I just have so many bugs. All right. With that out of the way, let's get into our broadcast, which is broken up into 4 categories, and those categories are science and technology, health and medicine, flora and fauna, aka plants and animals, and wholesome notes, the really nice touchy-feely articles we like to end on. And I will warn you now, our last article of tonight is an I'm not crying, you're crying article, so have your tissues ready, just in case. We're going to start off in category 1, science and technology, and we called this first article Up, Up, and Away. Sorta. Hello, Dirty Rogue. I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check this article out, and if any time, you can check out all the articles in the description of our video. Quiet, comfortable, and low emissions. How this flying ferry is transforming Stockholm's waterways. This was published to Euro News on February 17th of 2026 by Angela Simmons. In late 2024, commuters in Stockholm gained a novel way to cross the Swedish capital. A flying electric ferry. Just over a year later, and the project has been declared a resounding success by the Swedish Transport Administration following an evaluation of its pilot route. Built across 14 islands, Stockholm is naturally suited to waterborne transport. Yet, relatively slow journeys and infrequent departures lead many to navigate via the city's more than 50 bridges instead. Still, diesel-run ferries account for nearly half of the region's total public transport emissions. The introduction of the hydrofoiling Candela P12 shuttle, described by its manufacturer as the world's fastest electric passenger vessel in service, aims to change all of that. Operating between the suburb of Ekero and central Stockholm, near City Hall, the ferry has cut travel times from around 55 minutes to roughly 30 minutes. According to trial data, carbon dioxide emissions have been slashed too, by around 94% compared with comparable diesel vessels. Yeah, diesel vessels. Diesel vessels, yes. Local politicians have declared the project a potential paradigm shift in how urban waterways are used. The P12 is the first computer-controlled electric hydrofoil ferry to enter serial production, according to its manufacturer, Candela. Wing-like carbon fiber foils mounted beneath the hull generate lift as the boat gains speed, raising it above the water's surface. Have you ever seen like hydrofoil surfers who have those really weird boards with like the big, the rudder like keel going down that then is a hydrofoil, and they're bouncing up and down? It's like that, but bigger and transporting multiple people. And I don't think it's constantly going, ooh. So, wing-like carbon fiber foils mounted beneath the hull generate lift as the boat gains speed, raising it above the water's surface. By reducing contact with the water, drag drops dramatically, enabling higher speeds, smoother travel, and significantly lower energy consumption. This enables long range and high speed on battery power alone. An onboard computer system constantly adjusts the angle of the foils in real time, using sensors to keep the vessel stable as it flies above the water. The electric ferry also produces dramatically smaller wakes than conventional ferries, comparable, according to the report, to those of a dinghy with an outboard motor. Creating smaller waves as it moves through the water not only means a faster, more comfortable ride, it also reduces shoreline erosion and environmental disturbance. Noise levels decrease too. Sound measurements showed the ferry to be as quiet as a car traveling at 45 kilometers an hour, and barely audible from 25 meters away. Thanks to its minimal wake, the current electric ferry is allowed to operate under a speed exemption on Stockholm's waterways. This means it can take advantage of its capabilities with a roughly 25-knot service speed, far greater than the ordinary 12-knot limit. So this thing's actually cruising pretty well. In its evaluation, the Swedish Transport Administration recommended extending similar exemptions to additional routes, potentially allowing the service to expand. Passenger numbers on the Ekero line reportedly rose by 22.5% during the trial period, suggesting strong demand from both commuters and tourists. The report notes that the vessel requires relatively limited dockside charging upgrades compared with conventional electric ferries. Combined with lower fuel and maintenance costs compared with diesel ferries, this creates a winning formula. According to the report, replacing 2 diesel ferries with 6 P12 vessels could allow departures every 15 minutes instead of hourly, increase passenger capacity by around 150%, and generate estimated socio-economic benefits of SEK 119 million, or 12 million pounds, while lowering the cost per journey. The Candela P12 can transform urban waterways, says Gustav Hasselskog, founder and CEO of Candela, which produces the P12 ferries at its Stockholm factory in Roteboro. By combining high speed, minimal energy use, and near zero emissions, we can unlock faster, cleaner, and more efficient waterborne transport for cities worldwide. Cities including Berlin, Mumbai, and destinations in the Maldives and Thailand are among those that have announced plans or orders for similar vessels in 2026. That is really neat. To everybody at Candela and over in Sweden, basically flying over the water in a hydrofoil vessel is really cool. Cheers. It may look a little goofy, but I really want to ride on it. Alright, this next one was sent in by Nick's Newsy Lisa, and we called it, "You Don't Need NASA's Budget to Explore." I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check it out. American high school student stuns scientists by mapping 1.5 million previously unknown space objects. This was published to Futura on February 23rd of 2026. But I'm seeing the future by the Future team and Pia Gray. There we go. A California teenager discovered more than 1.5 million previously unidentified space objects while analyzing archived NASA data, an achievement that just earned him public praise from NASA leadership in early 2026. What began as a summer project has now evolved into a peer-reviewed breakthrough in the Astronomical Journal, proving that the next era of space exploration is being driven by youth and artificial intelligence. Mateo Paz, a student at Pasadena High School, joined the Planet Finder Academy in the summer of 2022. The program immerses students in real-world astronomy challenges. Under the mentorship of Caltech scientist Davy Kirkpatrick at the Infrared Processing and Analysis Center, or the IPAC, Paz examined a massive archive from NASA's NEOWISE telescope. Launched in 2009 to detect near-Earth asteroids, NEOWISE collected a decade of full-sky infrared observations. The dataset contained nearly 200 billion rows of measurements, capturing countless celestial objects and distant phenomena. While the research team initially planned to study a small subset manually, Paz designed a more ambitious approach. Drawing on his background in theoretical math, coding, and time series analysis, he built an automated algorithm to process the archive. In 6 weeks, he created a machine learning pipeline capable of detecting faint, variable light sources, objects whose brightness changes too subtly or unpredictably for humans or standard software to catch. The model started showing promise almost right away, Kirkpatrick told phys.org. As Paz fine-tuned it, the results only got more exciting. The system identified flickering, pulsing, and fading objects that served as signatures of quasars, binary stars, and supernova. Paz's breakthrough highlights a massive shift in modern astrophysics. The democratization of artificial intelligence. Tools that previously required massive institutional supercomputers and entire research departments are now being leveraged by high schoolers to decode the universe. Paz's model used Fourier transforms and wavelet analysis, mathematical tools for studying time-based signals. These techniques revealed faint variations in the infrared spectrum that Neowise's sampling might otherwise have missed. Some objects changed so slowly or briefly that they had previously gone unnoticed. Detecting these variables is important for studying rare transients and cataclysmic variables, which do not follow predictable cycles. He worked alongside Caltech researchers including Shobhane Hamadi, Daniel Masters, Ashish Mahabal, and Matthew Graham. Together, they refined the system to process the entire sky's data, producing a catalog of more than 1.5 million variable light sources. Released publicly in late 2025, this massive catalog is already driving active observations early this year at major facilities such as the Vera C. Rubin Observatory. It is providing immediate new insights into stellar evolution, distant galaxies, and high-energy cosmic processes. Paz continued his work after the initial discovery. His momentum has only accelerated into the new year. Just weeks ago, NASA leadership publicly praised Paz's breakthrough, highlighting a historic shift. Major space institutions are now openly recognizing that revolutionary AI-driven discoveries came from a teenager's laptop just as easily as from a traditional agency. The tools he used, from algorithmic modeling to computational astrophysics, are normally reserved for graduate-level study. He developed these skills through the Pasadena Unified School District's Math Academy, a public program for mathematically gifted students. "If I see their potential, I want to make sure they reach it," Kirkpatrick said. "I'll do whatever I can to help them." Paz hopes to extend his AI system beyond astronomy. Since the algorithm can analyze any time-based data, it could eventually be applied to fields like finance, environmental monitoring, or neuroscience, where subtle changes over time reveal important patterns. The project demonstrates how tools that advance cosmic discovery can also provide insight into complex systems on Earth. Ultimately, Matteo Paz's achievement serves as a powerful reminder for the scientific community. The next major leap in human knowledge might not come from a multi-billion-dollar lab, but from a teenager with a laptop, open source data, and a completely fresh perspective. Wow. That is wild. To Matteo Paz, who created a machine learning algorithm to basically scan billions of entries of data to find previously unknown objects in space. And to Nick's Newsy Lisa for sending in this article. Cheers. All right, that's going to get us out of Category 1, Science and Technology. We are going to move on to Category 2, Health and Medicine. And we got two articles in this section for you. We call this first one, Hydrogel plus Power equals Healing. I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check it out. I am still blown away at just how apple pie this beer is. Like, oh my gosh. Sorry, just gotta adjust my seating. All right. Oxygenating hydrogel in a tiny battery may heal chronic wounds and transform recovery. This was published to good.is on February 26 of 2026 by Mark Wales. Researchers at the University of California, Riverside, created a new gel that oxygenates and regenerates damaged tissue. By attaching a tiny battery about the size of a hearing aid, the gel becomes an electrochemical device capable of healing previously unhealable wounds. This breakthrough, oxygenating hydrogel, could reshape tissue restoration and address challenges across multiple conditions. Some injuries develop complications and never fully heal. Without sufficient oxygen reaching the deeper layers of the skin, these wounds remain inflamed and never receive the medication needed to heal. People suffering from chronic wounds, injuries that haven't healed for over a month, face the risk of potential amputation. In the absence of oxygen, bacteria continue to flourish, and the deepest layers of tissue worsen instead of rebuilding, a condition known as hypoxia. A 2026 UC Riverside study described a soft, flexible gel containing a non-toxic antibacterial liquid and water. When an electric current travels through the hydrogel, the water molecules split, releasing a steady trickle of healing oxygen. By placing the gel and battery system into an absorbent patch, the hydrogel can be replaced as needed. Iman Nashadi, an associate professor at UC Riverside, who led the research team, described the problem this way. There are 4 stages to healing chronic wounds: inflammation, vascularization, where tissue starts making blood vessels, remodeling, and regeneration, or healing. In any of these stages, lack of a stable, consistent oxygen supply is a big problem. A 2024 study published in Oxford Academic revealed that hypoxia is a natural part of the healing process. In the early stages, it helps wounds form and promotes cell migration. However, chronic hypoxia in long-term wounds harms immune function and limits tissue regeneration. There are significant benefits to using the oxygenated hydrogel. First, the gel adapts to a wound-specific shape. By seeping into small gaps, it reaches areas where oxygen levels drop and infection risk is highest. Second, it delivers a continuous flow of oxygen that can last up to months. Because tissue regrowth can take weeks, brief oxygen spikes don't solve hypoxia. With controlled oxygen release, cells that were once unstable can begin to regrow. One of the major challenges in organ growing research has been oxygen supply. A 2025 study by researchers at Stanford University revealed that a lack of internal blood vessels limits oxygen delivery to growing cells. As a result, engineered tissues have restricted growth and never reach full maturity. Another 2025 study by a team at the University of Tokyo attempted to mimic the placenta to enhance liver growth, again aiming to counter the challenges posed by hypoxic conditions. Nishadi believes the gel could be a bridge to creating and sustaining larger organs for people in need of them. Whether scientists are trying to heal chronic wounds or grow fully functional organs, the challenge often comes down to oxygen. Innovations like oxygenating hydrogel aim to solve this problem. By delivering oxygen exactly where it's needed, the technology could become a turning point, transforming stalled healing and organ engineering into life-changing medical breakthroughs. That is amazing. To everybody at University of California, Riverside involved with creating a hydrogel that can help to heal even chronic wounds by providing constant oxygenation. Cheers. All right, we called this next one, You Know You Make Me Wanna Scream! I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check it out. Because, if we get copyright struck, that's just winning, right? It shows we did it. We made it by getting a copyright strike. Need to scream into the void? There's a club for that. This was published on February 25th of 2026. It was published to goodgoodgood.co on February 25th of 2026 by Cameron Baker. The rules of Scream Club are simple. Show up and let it out. It all started in Chicago when a couple, Manny Hernandez and Elena Soboleva, had a tough week. Hernandez, a coach and breathwork expert, suggested they let out their feelings. The pair headed to Lake Michigan, where they screamed into the abyss. Then, people around them began to join in. Now, they host a weekly meetup where people are invited to write down what's bothering them on biodegradable paper, drop it in the water, and scream to their heart's content. Scream Club is now a movement where several U.S. cities started their own chapters. While people could scream into a pillow on their own, doing it together is what its founders believe is key. Being able to have that with other people is more powerful, Hernandez told People magazine. Strangers turn to each other, hugging and crying together, and that's amazing to witness, added Soboleva. Especially with the state of the world, a lot of people need that release. Scream Club isn't therapy, but it is therapeutic. And in the political upheaval of the past year, it seems to be just what people need. Obviously, we have demonstrations and protests. John Hueste, a co-leader of the D.C. chapter of Scream Club, told the Washington Post. But there's not really a way to just, let out your anger or frustrations or whatever. It is for just anything, even if it's personal. It's such a taboo to do something like that, to scream, especially in public, Soboleva added. For me personally, it's a form of liberation. According to Soboleva and Hernandez, Season 1 of Scream Club has come to a close after 20 weeks of lakeside gatherings. But the duo has begun hosting indoor experiences, teaching breathwork, and still allowing a safe place for people to scream, even amid winter weather. This was never about the scream, they wrote on Instagram as their first season wound down. It was about people, showing up, letting go, and realizing we're all carrying something. Those interested in joining a Scream Club of their own can find existing chapters via an online Scream map or apply to lead a new chapter. Links are in the article. That is a fantastic model, and though it isn't therapy, I'm sure it can be therapeutic. So, to Manny Hernandez and Elena Soboleva, and everybody involved with Scream Club, cheers. All right, that's going to get us out of health and medicine. We are going to move on to category 3, flora and fauna, aka plants and animals. We've got 2 articles in here, and this first article we called Shere Khan Approves of This. And I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check it out. And again, all of our articles are linked in the description of our videos. Kazakhstan plants tens of thousands of trees in a giant effort to reintroduce tigers. This was published to Live Science on February 25th of 2026 by Patrick Pester. Tigers will soon roam Kazakhstan for the first time in over 70 years as conservationists undertake a gargantuan effort to restore part of their lost habitat. The last of Kazakhstan's Caspian tigers disappeared in the late 1940s after years of hunting, habitat loss, and decline in prey numbers. Now, the Central Asian country has an ambitious plan to reintroduce the world's largest cats to their historic lands. So far, 2 captive tigers, a male and a female, are already in Kazakhstan as part of a breeding and release project, while the country is expecting its first wild tigers to be transported from Russia in the first half of 2026. However, for the program to be a success, the tigers need plenty of places to live. That's where an enormous tree planting project comes in. Last year, the Kazakhstan Tiger Reintroduction Program, led by the government of Kazakhstan with support from the World Wildlife Fund and the United Nations Development Program, planted 37,000 seedlings and cuttings near a giant lake in southeast Kazakhstan's South Balkhash region, where tigers used to live, according to WWF Central Asia. This adds to the 50,000 seedlings planted between 2021 and 2024. Hey, Nico. Welcome aboard. No worries. Nico says, I'm late. Hello, all. Nico, it's fine. Thank you for joining us. Tree planting is a key part of Kazakhstan's massive ongoing greening initiative. The country has planted around 1.4 billion trees since 2021, and officials say they are on track to reach 2 billion trees by 2027. In South Balkhash, newly planted trees serve as a foundation for recovering ecosystems that sit alongside already forested lands. The trees provide shelter and water access, as well as food for the tiger's prey, hoofed mammals or ungulates like boar and Bukhara deer, Cervus elephas bactrianus, also called the Bactrian deer. Already, wild ungulates have been seen foraging on the restored sites, indicating that the ecosystem is beginning to function. A spokesperson for WWF Central Asia told Live Science in an email. Each planted seedling is therefore a direct contribution to the future of the tigers in Kazakhstan. The planting zone encompasses around 2.5 miles or 4 kilometers of shoreline along Lake Balkhash, which covers roughly 6,500 square miles or 17,000 square kilometers for folks that haven't landed anybody on the moon lately, and is the largest lake in Central Asia and the 15th largest lake in the world. The new vegetation, which includes 30,000 narrow-leaf oleaster seedlings, 5,000 willow cuttings, and 2,000 Taranga poplar seedlings, creates growing islands of forest that regulate the flow of water to stabilize floods and overflows. WWF Central Asia attributes the increase in planting in 2025 to the accumulated experience of the staff, as well as to factors like improved planting techniques and expanded partnerships. However, the pace of the ecosystem's recovery and its sustainability for tigers will depend entirely on a variety of factors, including the climate, stability of water resources, and growth of the vegetation. The tigers that used to live in Kazakhstan were part of a now extinct Central Asian population known as Caspian tigers. However, the living Amur tigers found in the Russian Far East and China, and potentially North Korea, can serve as suitable replacements. A 2009 study published in the journal PLOS1 found that Caspian and Amur tigers were likely part of the same population, until human activity forced them apart in the 19th century, meaning they're essentially the same animal. The reintroduction program welcomed 2 captive Amur tigers in 2024, and they appear to have adapted well to life in Kazakhstan. These tigers, a female named Bodhana and a male named Kuma, came from an animal sanctuary in the Netherlands in 2024 and are currently living in an enclosure within the Ile Balkhash Nature Reserve. Bodhana and Kuma are used to life in captivity, so they'll never be released, but the hope is that their offspring will form part of a new founder population of Kazakhstan tigers. However, as there's no guarantee that Bodhana and Kuma will breed or produce suitable offspring, so the bulk of the new population will be made up of wild tigers that are imported from Russia. Kazakhstan officials are expecting to receive the first tigers from Russia in the coming months. WWF Central Asia told Live Science that it hasn't been confirmed where the Russian tigers are coming from, but based on publicly available information and recent media reports, it is understood that the Amur tigers expected in the first half of 2026 are from the wild. Reintroducing large predators is a delicate and risky process, particularly when those predators are capable of harming humans and livestock. But it can be done. A 2024 study published in the Journal of Wildlife Management found that a tiger reintroduction attempt in Russia was largely a success. Researchers cared for 6 orphaned wild cubs and prepared them for re-release into their natural habitat. The tigers caught their own prey and survived. However, the study noted that one rehabilitated tiger killed multiple domestic animals, including more than 13 goats in a single event, and failed to demonstrate adequate fear of humans. That tiger was subsequently recaptured and placed in a zoo. WWF Central Asia said Kazakhstan's program is prepared to resolve any incidents that involve human conflict with its released tigers. Measures include creating a special team that will continuously track released individuals and respond to any potential human-wildlife conflicts. The group's main tasks include regular patrols, monitoring tiger movements via satellite collars, early detection of potential approaches to settlements, and rapid response measures, the WWF Central Asia spokesperson said. The program is also working with local communities to raise awareness about tigers and how to behave in their presence, as well as promoting sustainable development in these communities by offering grants for agriculture and ecotourism, according to WWF Central Asia. All of this forms part of a long-term strategy for peaceful coexistence between people and predators, the spokesperson said. A compensation scheme for local residents is also planned in cases where tigers cause livestock losses. To everybody involved in Kazakhstan preparing for the eventual release of Amur tigers to make up for the loss of the Caspian tiger in Kazakhstan, cheers. That was a long article for an obligatory cat article. Jeez. Ooh. We called this next one, "It's Not Easy Being Green, but It's Worth It." I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check it out. This is how Billie Eilish, Dave Matthews Band, and Jack Johnson have been greening their concert tours. This was published to goodgoodgood.co on February 21st of 2026 by Megan Cook. Sustainability is a hot topic in the music industry today, as more and more fans call for accountability from their favorite artists. From the methods of manufacturing and producing merch to the electricity used to power entire venues, nearly every facet of the industry carries an environmental cost. Reverb, a nonprofit spearheading the sustainability movement in music, is all too aware of those impacts. Since 2004, they've been tackling them head-on, greening tours and venues, neutralizing carbon emissions, and fundraising over $16 million for various environmental causes. Producer Donna just said, "This proves that if they can do it, massive concerts, then any venue and event can do this." And this is true. Chris Spinato, the director of communications at Reverb, has been with the company for nearly 10 years. And although the organization has been adding new musicians to their long-standing roster, which includes Billie Eilish, Dave Matthews Band, John Mayer, and Jack Johnson, and expanding their festival reach, Spinato said their core work remains unchanged. "We help partners identify their sustainability goals and then create programs to meet and usually exceed what they're hoping to achieve," Spinato told Good Newspaper. On most tours, that means sending an on-site sustainability coordinator on the road with their respective bands. They're sort of like a guitar tech, but instead of restringing and adjusting guitars, they're making sure that sustainability efforts are happening, Spinato explained. Those efforts include steps to reduce single-use plastic waste, divert landfill waste, and lower carbon emissions, among much else. The same is true at festivals and venues. Spinato has seen the landscape of the live music world change over the last decade. In the past, their team used to fight tooth and nail to get venues to allow entry of reusable water bottles, offer recycling bins, and install refillable water stations. Now they've become the new norm. But the majority of festivals are still immensely wasteful, and it largely comes down to landfill waste and carbon costs. According to Musicians for Sustainability, concerts annually produce more than 116 million pounds of waste each year and emit 400,000 tons of carbon emissions, and that's just in the US. When it comes to fossil fuels, Spinato said Reverb is making efforts to divert carbon emissions through the organization's Music Decarbonization Project. This effort has been entirely funded by artists and industry partners and is helping to rapidly decrease or eliminate carbon emissions and accelerate the shift away from fossil fuels, Spinato said. In 2023, the program helped to decarbonize Billie Eilish's headline set at Lollapalooza and Willie Nelson's Luck reunion by powering stages with solar-charged intelligent battery systems rather than highly polluting diesel generators. Spinato is not starry-eyed when it comes to climate justice, but he is motivated. Despite the challenges that still remain, both in music and generally as we all face the worsening climate crisis, we have hope, Spinato said. It's not hope in the sense that we hope things get better. It's a hope gained through taking action and seeing millions of people that are working to create a better future for people and the planet. Climate doom wins when people feel defeated by climate change, but it can be combated by the knowledge that no one is alone in it. Spinato points out that Reverb does not exist in a vacuum. It relies on countless employees, volunteers, nonprofit organizations, and artists leading the charge for change, and the teeming crowds of fans that support them. It may be a little cliche, but music really is a universal language. It connects people in a way that really nothing else can, Spinato said. Music creates community, built around a shared love and connection to an artist, which comes to life at concerts. Concerts are incredibly positive, energetic events. So you have people coming together around a shared love, in a great mood, filled with energy. What better place to talk to people about taking action for people and the planet? To everybody at Reverb and all of the music artists that have embraced greener alternatives in their venues, their concerts, and basically are just looking to reduce their carbon footprint overall. Cheers. All right, with that, we're going to get out of flora and fauna. We are going to move on to category 4, the wholesome notes. And again, a warning. We've got 2 articles in wholesome notes tonight, and the second one is an I'm not crying, you're crying article. So be ready for that. But this first one is definitely a sometimes it takes a village article. I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check it out. It took a village. Missing Ontario pup found safe through harsh winter in 5-month search. This was published to CTV News on February 24th of 2026 by Juliana Balsamo. There were winter nights when the temperature dipped below -30 Celsius, and most of Stayner, Ontario was fast asleep. In a cold barn, a small group of local volunteers sat silently in the dark, watching a live camera feed and waiting for a pup who had been missing for nearly 5 months. On February 20th, just after midnight, Daisy, a 3-year-old boxer Rottweiler mix, stepped under a drop net and lowered her head into a food bowl. A cord was cut. The net fell, and within seconds, the dog, who had sparked hundreds of sightings and social media shares, was safely secured. Daisy first went missing from her Stayner home on October 1st of 2025. Her owner, Colin, told CTV News that he had been working on his motorcycle in the carport when he noticed the gate door open. Workers at a nearby mechanic shop spotted Daisy on the run and tried to wrangle her in, but she bolted out of fear and eventually disappeared. A small but mighty team never gave up. Volunteers with Positive Ground Search, joined by members from Collingswood, the Georgian Triangle Humane Society, and local residents, rallied together to find the missing pup. Sightings poured in daily, said Colin. Each encounter brought him hope. I lived vicariously through people posting sightings of her all over social media, he said in a phone interview with CTV News. Daisy, who was bonded to her owner Colin, behaved like many lost dogs do, skittish, scared, and constantly on the move. Sue, a volunteer with Positive Ground Search, said Daisy traveled around Stainer, often sticking to familiar routes within the neighborhood. The team knew where she liked to spend the majority of her days, but couldn't track her down. Changing a trap location could cause her to vanish from an area for weeks, said Sue. We worked hard to keep her safe zone hidden and quiet. Day and night, we watched and planned, pivoted when she changed her times and her route. The trips to replenish her feeding station became whole family affairs. Sometimes she'd show up soon after we got back to our cars and left. Other times, hours later, Sue said. Twice daily, volunteers delivered food to keep her strength up through the harsh Simcoe County storms. She found shelter in a nearby barn during the toughest nights, and searchers worked carefully to keep the area quiet so she wouldn't run away. There was even a time when Colin recalled coming face to face with Daisy on the street. I looked her in the eyes, and she ran away, he said. It was frustrating. So many calls. So many close encounters, Colin said. I had a little bit of doubt. But the community of Stainer never let that doubt become reality. Sue said property owners opened their land for trails and cameras. Hoffman's Meat and European Deli provided food and allowed access to its property. Rain Nutrition donated canned rabbit and treats. Pet Value Stainer brought supplies while residents sent snacks through Daisy's Amazon wish list. A young boy named Aiden even helped shovel snow and sang to Daisy during feeding trips. It took a village, Colin told CTV News on Tuesday morning. Sue said the food was becoming quite costly and all the donations were greatly appreciated through the search effort. On February 20th, everything changed. That moment of confusion and hopelessness finally came to an end. A small team set up at the frequently visited location around 9 p.m. with hopes that she'd come for her usual evening meal. Sometime around midnight, the trail cams went off, and the team got into position, said Sue. 1 second after, the cord was cut, and Daisy was secured, she said. The team jumped into action. Others jumped into their car to help walk her out. She was put into a crate. Today, Daisy is back to cuddles and belly rubs, said Colin. She acts like she never even left home. A recent vet visit even confirmed she's doing well. For Colin, he said the relief outweighs everything else. For those who braved storms, holidays, and endless nights, the outcome is simple. Never give up. Positive Ground Search is a volunteer-based group who actively searches for lost dogs in Barrie, Innisfil, and some surrounding areas. Sue said the team that helped retrieve Daisy was made up of roughly 12 members. To everybody involved with finding Daisy the dog after she took off and was a bit too skittish to come home, who basically spent 5 months making sure this dog was all right and finally getting her back to her home. Cheers. Now for the last article of the night. It is a short read, but going to take it slow, hear the words, and just kind of let this all reverberate with you. Again, this is an I'm not crying, you're crying article. I will copy and paste it in the chat if you all want to check it out. And it is also available in the link, as a link in our description. Dozens of classic car owners cruise past Lakewood home to surprise 80-year-old man with cancer diagnosis. This was published to Fox 31, Colorado's CW2 on February 22nd, 2026, updated February 23rd of 2026 by Anna Kuhn. An 80-year-old Lakewood man got quite the surprise on Sunday afternoon when dozens of classic car owners cruised past his home in a surprise organized by his granddaughter. Max Arculeta, a lifelong fan of vintage vehicles, was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and his family says he no longer has the energy to attend the car shows he once enjoyed. Hoping to lift his spirits, his granddaughter, Annalise Garcia, posted on social media asking for a handful of classic car owners to drive by his house. "I just wanted to do something special for him," Garcia said. But she got more than a handful. Drivers showed up by the dozens. Cars from the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s and beyond lined up Sunday afternoon, driving slowly past Arculeta's home, waving and honking their horns. Many of the drivers had never met him, including Butch Souza, who taped a poster of Arculeta to his 1951 Ford shoebox. "I had seen him at a show last summer. He looked familiar," said Souza, "and I was like, that's something that you do for your community." Another driver, Bruce Santry, said the goal was simple. "Hopefully, we'll get a couple of nice cars out here and make him smile. That's all this is for." Arculeta and his family sat near the edge of the road, cheering as car after car rolled by. "It's going to be something that our family is going to be able to keep with them forever," Garcia said. "I cannot believe everybody," Arculeta said. "Just all this for me." His family said they were blown away by the community response and grateful for a memory they will cherish. To Annalise Garcia and everybody that drove past Max Arculeta to bring a vintage car show to him in his time of need. Cheers. I'm not crying, you're crying. All right. That does it for tonight. 8 amazing articles, including one where basically a community showed up for one of their members to just drive by with vintage cars, and 5 months of chasing down a lost dog to make sure that she was returned to her home. It's fantastic stuff tonight. So thank you all again for tuning in or catching the replay on the Nix News YouTube channel. Again, we're live every Sunday, and our next episode will be on March 8th, 2026, and it will be our first cool news episode of 2026. That's right. We have been amassing cool news sent in by you and different articles we've found, and we will be presenting it all on the next episode of Nix News. We encourage participation, so if you feel inclined, you can message us or post suggestions for news brews, shoutouts, news quotes, and especially good news articles that we can present on future episodes. If you send a bunch of articles, please spread them out across our 4 major categories, which again are science and technology, health and medicine, flora and fauna, aka plants and animals, and wholesome notes, the really nice stuff that we like to end on. So you can message us on Facebook or Instagram or email us at somebudgetstudios@gmail.com. Links are in the description. Feel free to like, subscribe, or comment on our content across all our platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, to get good news and joy out into the algorithms, all of the algorithms. Please no SEO improvement advertisements. We continue to grow thanks to all of you. We're not doing any advertising apart from some minimal posting, and otherwise y'all continue to grow Nix News, and I can't thank you all enough. It really is amazing kicking things off here in 2026 and just keeping on moving. We're already into March in 2026. Jeez. As always, thank you again. I love you all. Have a great night, and I will play us out.